Hello, my name is Sarah Atchison, and I am here to explain why it is so important to have two separate images on the billboards to portray neighborhood safety in both urban and suburban areas. Your department is currently using the same image for both areas, and that will not reach both desired audiences. This image that you are currently using may project a positive perception to one while projecting a negative perception to the other. The urban photo here is a great example of a safe urban neighborhood. There are several examples of cultural familiarity here, as we see the tall buildings, trees and lampposts in the sidewalk, a city bus and a bus stop, a parking lot full of cars under the bridge. The large bridge itself looks like a highway, and the street lights and several road signs all around, which are all representative of an urban neighborhood. Many people who grew up in an urban area will feel an emotional attachment to this image, as there are so many culturally familiar things happening. Many people would have a cognitive memory of walking across the crosswalk on their way to school or a friend's home, or maybe even to their parents' work, living in that high-rise building, driving in that traffic, riding a city bus, or simply walking down the sidewalks. Some of the visuals here that project safety include the crosswalk itself, kids riding bikes while wearing helmets, walking with adults and utilizing the crosswalk, and the street signs to help them get safely across. I think the apartment building, the kids, trees, and the traffic can make it really feel like home in an urban area and something they can recognize and feel familiar to. This photo shows us a suburban neighborhood with kids safely rollerblading and biking in the street. The neighborhood's cultural familiarities in this photo include the white picket fences. There are no cars on the roads, there's big houses in the background, clean sidewalks, low curbs, and no street signs. In this photo, the lack of cars is a safety visual itself, but also every child is wearing a helmet, and the kids on rollerblades are also wearing knee pads, elbow pads, and gloves. You will also notice the sidewalks are empty and the kids are smiling. Many people will have cognitive memories relating this to a neighborhood or a home feeling, because they will have that feeling and remembering what it was like to ride their bikes or just simply rollerblade, play with their friends, and be safe out in the street because of the lack of traffic. For people who grew up in a suburban area, they would likely see this image and be reminded of the peace and quiet of growing up in the suburbs. It'll feel like home with the grassy areas, a bigger home with a porch, and kids playing in the neighborhood. It is important for both settings to encourage neighborhood safety because we all want to keep crime rates low and keep our children safe. Using an appropriate and relatable image makes a huge difference because the viewers can relate to the image and imagine it actually happening in their own backyard. We want our audiences to have an emotional engagement to the image that they are seeing. According to Martin Jones on Cox Blue and the Intersection of Business and Technology, emotional engagement is the key to content marketing success. People discover and share information, videos, pictures, and other types of media constantly. Assuming that all content starts out equally, however, viral content seems to take on a life of its own, rapidly spreading amongst the masses in such a way that a real virus does among people. This quote tells us that engaging our audience's emotional responses, we will be getting them to talk and not only see our billboard as safe, but it will give that neighborhood feeling that will spread like wildfire. They will all be talking about it, and they can all relate to it. According to Professor Hamilton, the metonymic codes are a collection of signs that cause the audience to make associations. Cognitive memories and cultural familiarities work together to create these metonymic codes because the cognitive memories remind them of specific memories they have had, and the cultural familiarities remind them that of all the things that are feeling familiar. And so now they have an attachment and a memory, causing them to associate what they are seeing with home. In conclusion, it is important to use different cultural familiarities and cognitive memories in urban settings versus suburban settings to give off semiotic codes and help them feel an attachment to what they are seeing. This will ultimately cause them to become invested in the cause. People who live in urban settings cannot relate to suburban lifestyles and vice versa, so it is vital to appeal to both neighborhoods and both kinds of people with images that are familiar, relatable, desirable, and that will evoke an emotional response to make them more memorable.